its thing. Yeah, no, just hold on a sec here. I'm about to go on the air here, folks. And hold on a sec here. There we go. Hold on a second. I'm trying to reload the player so you can see me live. Oh, cool. So there's a network error there. Okay, that's crazy strange, but we are officially live.
Okay.
Correct? We are live. So folks that are watching this are going, why are you doing it like this? And there it goes. There we go. It is officially live, ladies and gentlemen. We are on Twitch. I will be checking it periodically to respond to people. My guest is Edward Davis. He came back from more abuse. I'm not sure why exactly, but he did. And how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I've been working on videos all day today. Like
Okay.
I'm in deadline. I'm in oddly deadline hell this week, all week, because I'm working on a video for a hockey thing, which I'm going to finish when we're done. I got another video
Okay.
to hand in to a client tonight too, and then tomorrow it's proofreading and writing articles for two other clients, and then
Okay.
yeah, and then Wednesday is like I hopefully get to work on my novel because now I got to
Yeah.
get that done. I have to get that done by September 1st. That's an
Oh, wow.
actual deadline. So things have happened.
Yeah. Sounds
So
like you're chasing a lot of deadlines. So you got
I'm a busy
a
man, all right?
pile of work in front of you.
Yes, I do, and I'm also trying to get a little bit more work this month. I'm still recovering from the San Diego excursion a little bit, but I also
Yeah.
had another writers conference as well. So this was like a crazy, just like I've done all the public stuff I'm going to do for a little while now. Now it's just trying to build money to take over the world, kind of stuff. Like I
Yes.
keep going to the next phase of saving up to go on the road, and because San Diego for me was kind of like a last minute surprise.
Yeah.
So, and we got to hang out actually in person.
Yeah. That was nice.
Yeah, yeah. And I actually gave Ed some advice. Was it useful advice? Did it make
It was. I
sense?
mean, I haven't, right now, I'm focusing on the Kickstarter because as soon as San Diego ended, it
Yeah.
was right into Kickstarter mode. And that's
Oh
completely
yeah.
different than kind of what we talked about. And
Oh yeah.
then I'm going to start doing the actual shows and soliciting the bookstores and things like that. And at that point, I'll take the advice you gave me and try to market in a different way.
Yeah,
But for
because
Kickstarter, it's an entirely different audience that you market in a
oh,
completely different way.
oh, absolutely no. Kickstarter is its own monster. Like it really,
Hmm.
really is. I actually did a Kickstarter panel at When Words Collide in Calgary, and I pointed out like Kickstarter is not an indie audience. People think it has crossover there, but what it actually is a collector's audience.
Yeah.
And that's why comics do really well on Kickstarter because comics are collectibles at the end of the day.
Hmm. That's why I guess don't put their stuff in bags and boards. And I mean, for me, you're not looking at, oh, well, one day this is going to be worth a lot of money. But what if it is and it comes with a nice, huge crease in it? And the collectors are going to get really upset when you send their stuff beat up and creased. And that's why I try to really package it well. I treat it like, this is the potential high end collectible of someday. And do
Yeah.
you want me to send it just, haphazardly tossed in an envelope and call that good enough? And I think a lot of people who sell on Kickstarter, they think, like you said, that they're selling to an indie audience, but they're selling to collectors, they're selling to prospectors. A lot of these
Yes.
guys are thinking, this could be the next Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime show, and I want a piece of it while it's still in its infancy so I can hold the next, first Ninja Turtles or first
Oh, yeah.
issue of The Boys in my hand.
Well, that's just it, right? Because that's the whole of it. I had the first issues of the boys. That is the key word. They've been gone for a while. Unfortunately, a good chunk of my collection was left behind in Arizona, and
Oh,
I think
okay.
and boys was one of the ones I think that were victimized. Another one that was one of my favorite books was Planetary, which
Oh
is
yeah.
actually worth decent coin on the market as well.
Hmm.
At some point, I'm gonna hunt down some modern runs that I'm a real big fan of, like Transmetropolitan,
Yeah.
Planetary. Maybe The Boys is an okay comic. I wouldn't say it's the greatest comic in the world, but it's an okay comic,
Yeah, it's
right?
okay. I think I bought, as far as going to the comic store and buying off the rack, I think I bought like the first two story arcs. I'm like, all right, it's fine. It's, Garth Ennis is always someone I'll give a chance to, and
Hmm.
he's hit and miss. Sometimes it's brilliant, sometimes it's okay. It's never terrible, but yeah, I think the boys hit in that point where I'm sure there's story arcs that I didn't read that are incredible, and I love the show, so I'm sure there's pieces I need to get into, but I have
Oh,
those first few, and I actually got one of them signed by Garth Ennis, so that was nice. I got my issue 1.
I met Garth at Phoenix Comic Con 2015, 2016, something like that. Good guy.
Yeah.
He's a really good guy.
Hmm.
His war comics are the best things he does, in my
Oh yeah,
opinion.
those are always top notch.
Yeah, those are his best stuff because you can tell he really believes in duty and honor, and you can tell that because of how he portrays them. He takes them seriously. He treats them with a lot of
Yeah.
respect, and there's a big part of me that thinks he hates superheroes, just a little bit.
Yeah, I think he does, and I think with his war comics, he holds the soldiers in such high esteem. He doesn't go for like that over the top shock value that he does in a lot of his regular stuff.
Well, yeah, well, Preacher. I mean, it was there. He had to have that. That was an honest look at how he viewed things in terms
Yeah.
of God, religion. So yeah, he was a bit over the top, but no, I mean, one of my favorite little stories. He has fun too. Some of them he just has fun with. Like I enjoyed his Jennifer Blood arc. Like his
Yeah.
Jennifer Blood was actually fun. I'm not gonna say it was like his greatest writing, but it was fun. It was fun for what it was.
Yeah.
And he does like he can do over the top with a degree of flair, but yeah, sometimes he's hit, sometimes he's missed, and you gotta kind of just accept that. But his war comics are pretty much the best things he does, and
Yeah.
I enjoyed Johnny Red from
Hmm.
way back in the day. It actually inspired the novel I'm writing now a little bit because I
Oh, okay.
realize um, I had no idea that how the Russian women were just such badasses in World War II.
Yeah.
They just smashed, and I mean they legitimately smashed, probably better than just about anybody else out there. And it's actually an incredible little piece of history that's like, wow, in dark times, there's some amazing things that happen always.
Yeah.
But but that's me. But yeah, I mean, going back to kind of what we're talking like your stuff. Well, it's like Kickstarter. You can get like stuff gets optioned on Kickstarter. It happens, right? The audience get to a certain size, right? The audience get to a certain piece of the pie. You make
Hmm.
it, and suddenly people know you're there. And like it happened to Zing Zen. He got like optioned his for his stuff. I mean, so yeah, you want sometimes this early stuff. It might not be. There's not a lot of it out there. That's the other thing too. Even the most successful Kickstarters, at most, there's a couple thousand copies of this book,
Yeah.
right? And that's not a lot when you sit there and think about it.
Yeah. Unless you're Todd McFarlane and you're, selling millions of dollars of Spawn figures. In general, your audience, even the biggest Kickstarter audience, isn't what.
No, did we disappear? Did you?
Yeah, for a second.
Yeah, okay. It's the my connection is not the best. I think that's why the StreamYard did not work.
Yeah, mine's not the best either, but I don't. It
It's
it
all
goes in.
it's all good. It's all good. We'll muddle through this together somehow, some
Yes,
way, buddy. But no, I mean that's the thing, right? Kickstarter's kind of going on. So this is Immortal Era, or is this your other series?
this is Immortal Era. The next series, I'll definitely be talking to you before because we already are going to give you another piece of your pile of work. So
Yes, yeah. Oh no, we've already kind of come to an agreement there. But yeah, absolutely. Like we're like that's next month, right?
yeah,
So
that'll
we're
be hoping for an October launch because next month will be just fulfilling this issue of Immortal Era, and then the next month launching the new one. So what I want to do, I got a Kickstarter a few weeks ago, and they put a little QR code on there that says, okay, get in the pre-launch for this new book. So I think when I send out all of my rewards, put that little QR code on there, and that way people can start following the new campaign before it gets launched. So my goal is probably mid-October for the launch, because I want to make sure I don't have any more Immortal Era that I still need to mail out when I'm launching a new campaign.
Yeah, like I can understand that. Like, you want to make sure at least the project's well on its way into being fulfilled, and that's fine. Like it works out for me.
Yeah.
Clean up, it works out because holy shit. Let's see. Do I talk about this on the air? Or I've mentioned it off the air to a few people. I'll mention it. Like good things happen at both San Diego and at When Words. I'll be better prepared next year when I go to San Diego Comic Con.
Yeah.
It won't be quite such a last minute preparation to go. I'll actually like book my flight like maybe like 6 months in advance, kind of
Yeah.
deal. You know, because once you're there, and like I said, I already got my first professional badge, so this time around I'll get my next one, and it'll be like, yay!
Yeah.
I'm a professional and stuff.
Yeah, this was my first year with a professional badge and not just an exhibitor one. So that was nice. That feels good when you can cross that line and you're considered a professional actually working in the industry instead of just, on the cusp of getting in there.
Oh, dude, you've been in there for a while. Like, don't kid yourself. 8 issues of a series. That's a feat. Like, it's not
Yeah.
easy to put a comic together, and you put together 9 of them essentially now.
Yeah. So there's 9 books that when I launch Immortal Era 9, that'll be my 10th book. So that one I'm looking at hopefully a December release where it's just kind of quick releases, because pretty much this year I had a whole game plan, and then life decided otherwise. Like, all right, you know what? You think you're going to do that? Here, have 2 eye surgeries. You think you're going to do that? Oh, here, put your dad in the hospital. So it's
Yeah.
life always finds a way to get in the way, and you have to try to still do what you can do for your, especially for this isn't my actual career. I still have to go to the day job and pay the bills. So how do you do what's essentially your hobby career? How do you do that when life just keeps throwing, uppercuts at you, and you need to keep your art team fed?
Yes, except I think it's not just a hobby career anymore for you either.
Yeah.
You've started to get some traction and some momentum. I mean, you're trying to expand now, right? You got a second series kind of coming up,
Yeah.
and I mean, I think you're past. I mean, it may not be your main. It's not your main source of income, for sure.
No.
But it's definitely grown to the point where you can do a second title, which means it's not small anymore. It's almost, I probably during campaign mode, it's a full-time job.
It really is. Yeah. Cause I get home from work and it's, working on the campaign, sending out those that need to be sent. So you're definitely right. And I think for me, my mentality is always feeling like you're that outsider, like you're the imposter in the room, but you reach a point, you're like, all right, if they're still buying it after 8 issues, I'm not the imposter in the room.
Well,
You just always have that feeling.
well, you got to kind of, well, I hope it changes slightly now. But I mean, you can let after this conversation, because no, you're not like
Yeah,
you're.
and I think it is changing. It was for the first few issues that was the absolute feeling I had, but now you talk to people, they respect your writing, that it shows that you're more than just, you haven't infiltrated the room and eventually they're going to figure out that you're fake and boot you out. So I've
Well,
kind
no,
of gotten through that mentality.
yeah, you're not fake now. Now it's like the good things that'll come your way. Like honestly, I think the real challenge in this is when good things happen, when they do inevitably happen to you, like can you roll with those? You're used to bad things. Like don't get me wrong, I'm not wishing like eye surgeries and your dad in the hospital on you, but we
Yeah.
almost expect the bumps in the road, right?
Yeah.
It's when things go well, you're like, what the fuck, right?
Feels more of a surprise for sure. You're ready, like, all right, I took this one. What's next? What's the next major obstacle?
And
So when it's a good thing, yeah, that's what I don't know if I'll know what to do, but you have to kind of look at, okay, finally, this is a good thing. And you know what, you just hope that you can work with that, and that if, as long as you keep persevering, eventually those good things will come. But I mean, the bad things, they weren't anything to do with the book. They were completely
Oh,
outside of that realm of my life.
oh, no, I get that, but I'm just saying, like, how do I put this? We're used to getting knocked off the bicycle,
Yeah,
right? We're used to it. You're used to falling on our ass. The I think the real challenge when you're talking like purely on a creative point of view, it's staying the course because
yes,
it's hard. It's hard, right? And however you want to do it, like in your case, like you like your other career, you still enjoy it, and so
yeah,
you want to keep it as part of your my portfolio is not quite the right word, but it's something you want to keep doing.
yeah,
And your comics are growing. I don't know if they're at like they're at the point they're at least at the point where the where this series is paying for itself because you're doing another series. So you're trying to
yeah,
expand, you're trying to do that. So if they're at that point, now everything's going to start going into like the green, right? As more
yes,
and more, so it doesn't matter, right? So that's a good spot. Like you've worked your way to that. So the next step for you is now you're going to start seeing some money, actual money, um, from your book, and now you're going to be
yeah,
like, okay, where now? If you're a smart man, right, you're going to take a moment. You're going to like, holy shit, I made some money with this. I might buy buy my wife or kids something with it. It's just like, hey, I did it with my creativity. But then you're going to
yeah,
come to a point. Then you're going to be like, okay, I want to keep doing this.
hmm,
What is the best way to invest in this?
yeah,
Right? And do you market? Do you make more book? Like obviously, what you're doing is you're making another series because you're that, which is a viable thing. But what's going to inevitably happen is if it keeps up, I mean, it might grow to a point where you're like, oh my gosh, I have a little corner empire in my back pocket now, and
yeah,
it's taken over, man. What am I gonna do, right? And but I mean, the important thing I think this is where I'm going coming from is first you're used to this thing sucking because again, trying to build something, there's always bumps in the road, real
oh yeah,
life or otherwise. But then there comes the point where it's like good things are happening. You're like, wow, I've worked hard at this. I'm getting rewarded for this. Like, oh shit, what's next? You know,
yeah,
and that's I think that's a harder. I think it's harder because we're not the thing. The temptation there is to shoot yourself in the foot
yeah,
because you're not used to it. You know, it's
hmm,
like good. It's a good thing. You're like, I don't belong here, and then inevitably, if you're not careful, you'll sabotage yourself to a point where it's like, oh, I really didn't belong here, right? You gotta kind of
yeah,
have a little like a conversation with yourself and go, okay, I'm here. How do I
hmm,
stay here? I think I don't know that when you get into it initially, like I mean, I talked to a comic creator long ago. Like he has a hit. Like one of his books is a legit hit,
hmm,
and he's kind of scared to follow through with it. He kind of feels like an imposter, and every time he hears nice things, he feels worse. And it's
yeah,
like, but this is what you came for. This is what you're hoping for, right?
yeah. Yeah, and I can see where he comes from, because I think, I don't know if it's just that's how some people are built. That's the mentality that some people have, and I think there's people, and I definitely would fall in this category, that don't feel comfortable unless you're clawing at the walls trying to break through. And then yeah, and you do need to take the positive, and that's something I have learned to do, is when I get a positive review, look at it and say, okay, don't look for the one line of negative that they said, the one piece of criticism, and just put that and ingrain it in your head. Look at it as an overall, okay, there's always room for growth, but they liked what they saw and they were complimentary. So you have to break that mentality of, okay, let me find and hyper focus on the one piece of negative so that I can live in that world. You need to live in, okay, let me live in this positivity and break away from that mold. And for me, that's a lifelong struggle. That goes with whatever compliment you could pay me, whether we're talking about the book or regular life. I'm going to search for the negative and deflect it away. And it's just a mentality. So when you're talking about that guy, I'm like, all right, I live in his world. I understand it.
So, I'm gonna ask a hard question. What scares you about the positivity?
Honestly, I think we'd probably have to dig into the psychology of like all the way back when growing up, I was just kind of fed the negativity. So it became what you're used to.
Okay.
And you weren't used to hearing the positivity. So when it comes, you're shocked because you grew up with no dose of that in your life.
So would could I dare say this is just a dare, like a dare possibility here? That maybe one of the things you're a little scared of is like because you're not used to it, like where the changes will go.
I would say that's definitely true.
Mm. I have a theory about fear. See, fear of failure and fear of success, I think, are similar in that they're both
Hmm.
fears of change. One,
Yeah.
like fear of failure, is that fear that nothing you do is going to matter, right?
Yeah.
And it's a powerful fear. I think we all go through this, especially when we're starting something. It's a real, like, legit thing. But in your case, right, you're 10 issues in. You're a
Yeah.
professional. I'm just gonna say it straight up. You're an accomplished professional in this industry, right? And you deserve whatever accolades you get for it, right? And then that's honest, right? You have decent numbers. I mean, anyone can look at your Kickstarter history and say like your product is a growing product, and I mean
Yeah.
you're legitimately looking at. And I think I can say this without giving away any too many spoilers here. You're legitimately looking at ways to you know expand what you already have. You see a good thing and you want to keep going with it, especially with the
Yeah.
moral era, which is we'll talk about the story stuff in a minute, but but I think, but again, it's a good thing. You have 8 issues under your belt. That means you have probably the equivalent of 2 story arcs or 2 trades, depending on
Yeah.
how you've done
We're
that.
moving toward the second trade right now.
Yeah, so you have 2 trades. So if I were to meet you on the road, right, and I'm like, hey, I want to try your book out. You got the single, which is it might be like you might still keep making number ones until Kingdom Come.
Yeah. I'll keep number ones in print for sure.
Yeah, but you'll have the trades, and the trades are
Hmm.
going to like give you access now to bookstores and other places, and you're going to be like, okay, how can I capitalize on this? And this is just that's business, but it's also like growth. Like you have enough material now, you can start looking at other places to go with it, and that's a great spot to be in. Like I said, I think
Hmm.
you're past the point of this is a hobby,
Yeah.
right? It's still a passion, right? It might be
Yeah.
again, right, still a passion, more so than maybe a profession, but
Hmm.
it's definitely closer to the professional line,
Yeah.
right? And you're like, well, what if I do like I might have a real hit here? Where does this go? What does
Yeah.
this look like? And that's the fear of success because
Hmm.
now you know what it takes to make something work. So now you're like, and let's be honest, like you're gonna try, like you're trying a new series out. It might not be the same level of success. It might be more successful. It might not be, but you don't
Yeah.
really know. But what you do know is you're expanding and you're growing, and
Hmm.
that's a legitimate, like I think like when this podcast was nominated for an award way back before I did. Like I was at like episode 170, so I'm just kidding. This is a long time ago.
Yeah.
I felt like I felt like that when I got nominated was like I was the same thing, like he was an imposter. But what I came to terms with eventually is I worked really hard for this.
Yeah.
I deserve it's okay to enjoy the good things in life.
Hmm.
And I've been able to put my imposter to sleep. Now I'm the other way. I'm the shameless. I am completely shameless in self promotion. I have a big ass ego. I would say healthy for the most part.
Hmm.
I'm okay with the fact that little children can hold my show hostage at will. I mean, there are things that humble me too. But
Yeah.
what I've learned is I think there's 2 ways to handle imposter syndrome. One of them is okay. I think both sides got kind of terms with that. Your imposter is a lying sack of shit,
Yeah.
right? It's the okay, accepting that when you do things, good things come from it. That's the first thing. But
Hmm.
the second thing is, okay, do you deal with your ego? And that's okay.
Yeah.
Like how much room do you give your ego? Do you give your ego a and what I realize is where your ego's good is when you spout your worth. Like if I were to
Yeah.
hire you to write a comic, you have a resume now,
Hmm.
right? You would charge more than I would charge because you have the experience and the track record, right?
Yeah.
I have some, but not like what you got.
Hmm.
So what it comes down to there is okay. Um, so I mean that's where ego's healthy, right? And I think we all need to have a little bit of that edge and ego and
Yeah.
that expectation. I think where it's unhealthy is how we choose to treat other people. Like that's where we got to be careful, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like, well, I still have to. I still get up in the morning, like in the morning, like everybody else does. I still do my thing. Like I'm trying. Like for me, I'm trying to make this a profession more than a
Yeah.
passion. I'm on my way. Like the profession makes more than it did. Like I've learned how to do these things.
Hmm.
But even so, I have to keep in mind like it can go away tomorrow. But I have the expectations on myself, and that's the hard part. I'm changing, but to where and what, and I have to kind of come to terms that I am not the same guy that started this. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Does
Oh,
that
absolutely.
yeah.
Because you, no matter what, if you continue at it, I mean, and you're closing in on 1,000 episodes, you're going to get better. You're going to grow. You're putting those 10,000 hours in, but you're just doing it at a run. You're just you hit it. You may have had some clunky ones to get there. And I look back and I can reread through some of my older issues and go like, okay, I would have changed that, because you learn as you go.
Yeah.
But you can also look at it and say, okay, this was a good product, and somehow I managed to sneak it out before I knew what I was doing, because I walked in completely blind. I knew what a comic book was. I had read a million of them in my time, but actually building and publishing one, you have to learn and take those lumps, but see your own growth.
Well, yeah, and also like again, you're a better writer now than when you started. Like I like issue one, like I there was definitely I would definitely probably sense the passion. Like that was the sad thing about the. So folks, I actually was gonna buy Ed's comic on Sunday. We just never ran into each other again.
Yeah, that was the day. That's the day I bring my daughter. So we were running on her agenda.
No. Actually, to your credit, you actually told me up front, like, you know what? Wait until tomorrow. See if I run into you, I'll give it to you. But if not,
Yeah,
right? That was to your
don't want
credit.
to
Like,
take your money and have you get nothing for it.
yeah, exactly. Because I was going to buy an issue of his comic, folks, and what ended up happening was I never saw Ed again, and I'm sure like your daughter took over the con, and you were like, okay, yes, and you did it with a smile on your face, and you're like, I'm gonna see these really really cool things and or some not so cool things, and but I love her and I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll go on. We'll talk about like your San Diego experience here. Um, it's coming to terms that you're not the same guy that you started it, and you're a great professional comic writer, and you're a good one, and you have a lot more skills than a lot of people who have done it through more traditional means because you've had to learn this industry in a way that's for today, which honestly Kickstarter is such a huge impact on comics. It's not even I can't even put into words how big comics are with Kickstarter. And
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. It's a huge part of their overall sales,
yeah,
and it's bigger and growing and growing. Because I remember when I launched issue one in 2019, the amount of comics on Kickstarter was a small fraction of what it is now. And now you launch and you have a lot of competition. So if I had launched now, it would have been a lot more daunting of a task to get through all of this to have people notice just my issue one.
yeah. Whereas me, I'm going to be doing a Kickstarter at some point, but I'm going to be doing something a little different with it. I'm kind of going into the book slash comic end.
Mhm.
Uh, Due to my publishing commitments in the like I'll tell you off the air. I think I'm just going to tell you off the air. What I initially offered in Patreon, I have to change one of my Patreon awards. I'm going to be
Mhm.
doing that. I just put a little post on that today. I was offering a novel. I can't offer that novel for the foreseeable future. There are reasons, and that's all I can
Yeah.
say is there are reasons. So I have to
Okay.
replace it. I have to replace it with something else, and
Mhm.
I've come up with a pretty good replacement idea.
Yeah.
And what I'm gonna be like, what I want to do I did my Kickstarter writing debut this year, like that literally just finished, and so did I did
Mhm.
my Kickstarter editing debut for comics. So I've done both
Yeah.
this year, which is cool. But I want to do a Kickstarter project next year. It's kind of like everything I've learned plus what I
Yeah.
offer that's kind of different. I
Mhm.
want, which is obviously the big challenge now with Kickstarter is to stand out. Like as you say, there's so many good books out there on a monthly basis. Like
Yeah.
there's a Good Omens book I really want to bid for right now, and I'm sad I
Yeah.
can't. I can't. I can't do it.
I haven't pulled the trigger on it, but I know I will because I'm such a huge Neil Gaiman fan
Oh, I'm a fan of both Neil and Colleen Doran.
and
I
yeah.
love both. They're both amazing. And I'm like, I really want this, but
Hmm.
I'm also broke from San Diego and from
Yeah.
Calgary
I
convention.
I feel I feel you on that. And I've had it where it's like press that pledge button like 4 or 5 times. It's sitting there. I've gone through the whole process and I just haven't hit that final button. So
Because
I'm right there
there's
with you.
yeah, I'm like, I want this book, but I can't afford it, and it sucks because I really want this book, right? And
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm gonna probably let this one go. It hurts because I've always wanted to like I like Colleen. I'm a big fan of Colleen's, and even Neil Gaiman. See, here's the thing. I read Neil Gaiman third. If I had read him first or second, he'd be a
Hmm.
bigger hit spot. So I read Ray Bradbury, which
Okay.
okay, and I don't. I think even if I was interviewing Neil, he would say the same thing. Like Bradbury's better than me. Then I read
Yeah.
Charles DeLint, who's a
Okay.
well-known urban fantasy author. He's really good. And then I read Neil.
Okay.
Right. I think Neil's great. Like I don't get me wrong. I think he's a fantastic talent. But he have you ever had like a creative that you know is good, but just doesn't do it for you the same
Oh
way?
yeah,
Or yeah,
absolutely.
that's Neil for me. Like I just
Okay.
know, like don't get me wrong, and I say that as I'm reading his Miracle Man run, which
Yeah.
is like right. That is my Neil Gaiman book right now. Is that?
Hmm.
But honestly, what it comes down to is I like his stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't love his stuff.
Yeah, you're
But I
not
love
enamored with him. And I can see that because he was what I got first. That was one of the first like
yeah
non-superhero comics. In fact, not one of, but that was the first non-superhero comic I ever got introduced to was Sandman.
yeah
So I had
and
been reading, all those god awful runs of Marvel and DC where it's, crossover event after crossover event and holofoil cover and all the gimmicks they tried to get you to do to buy a book. And I was, ready to just hang it up with comics. And someone traded me for one of my copies of Death of Superman for a Sandman #1. And that just
you
got
you
me hooked.
you won that trade. Wow, did
Oh
you win
yeah,
that
I,
trade?
I I won that one. At the time, it was lopsided his way, and now that book's come back down to earth. And the Sandman one, yeah, I'm
No,
happy I made that deal.
you won. That's not even like a contest now. Like even back then, I would have considered it a win. Like Sandman's run is really good.
Yeah.
But I just like for me like novel wise, prose wise, I read
Mhm.
Bradbury first. Then I read Jill Lint.
Yeah.
Comic wise, it was like someone similar to him was James Owen,
Yeah.
right? So I didn't read Gaiman until later. If I had read him earlier, I
Hmm.
think like I said, I think he's good, and this is something
Yeah.
that needs to be very clear. Just because I'm not enamored with him doesn't mean I don't appreciate how good he really
Yeah.
is. It's just he doesn't do it for me the same way
Yeah,
he
and
does it
that
for other.
makes total sense. And I have plenty of authors or musicians, you name it, where everyone tells you, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing. And you're just like, you know what? It's just not hitting me the way it hits you. And I'm glad you enjoy it that way, but it's
Yeah,
not, it didn't move me.
yeah, exactly, and that's it. And it's okay. Like that is a totally fair way of looking at looking at stuff. Like you can't just um you know, it's not everything's for you. Like, and that's something you got to kind of accept. Um, but there's again, that's that's the thing. Like I like for me another prose person that doesn't hit me the same way as Arthur C. Clarke.
Okay.
2001, right? Good stuff, but meh, like I doesn't hit.
Yeah.
Now some things do hit me. Like for example, I openly confess to this. I have the Taylor Swift problem. Like I
Ah,
openly have, right? I don't know how that happened exactly, but I found her work stuff and I really liked it. And now I have a problem, and that's just like, you know. But I mean, that's the thing is there's stuff for everybody, and
yeah.
like going back to like what we were saying earlier, is just that doesn't, yeah, there's you appreciate like doing stuff like this. You appreciate work. Your other people putting the work in a lot
Yeah.
more now that you've done it. Like you're like, this is hard to do.
Yeah.
Much respect.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's absolutely true. Because I know people that get they get snarky when they look at it at some indie comics. Oh, well, that art's garbage and that writing's garbage. And I'm thinking, put a book out and see if you still rip that book apart the same way. I mean, there room for growth. You can look at it and say yes. But when people are just downright terrible to indie writers, it it hits me a different way now because I know what a struggle it is to get one book sitting at the table.
Well,
And I respect anyone who goes through all of that process to get a book out. Hopefully, you find someone who's open to constructive criticism because you want to have them have that growth. But the ability to get a book out is so daunting. You know, I give full respect to anyone who actually gets there.
I actually I feel this way like okay. I that like this is like me growing up. Like okay, remember how terrible the Backstreet Boys were back in the day,
Yeah,
right? And by terrible I mean, folks, like it was very mechanical and formulaic.
yeah,
I respect that more now
they were a corporate band.
yeah, but I do oddly respect that more now that I'm older than when I
Mhm.
was younger, because I realize it really doesn't matter where they come from. They still put together something, right?
Yeah,
And
they
that's
still
not
have to have skills as singers and,
yeah.
at least performers. And that's something a lot of people in this world can't do.
Yeah. And I mean, that's just the way it goes. Like you realize like good work usually gets to a point, and this is where I'm kind of like I've kind of evolved too, is like there are people that are going to hate good work, and there are
Yeah.
people that are going to love good work, right? So what I find now is what I despise with art now. I don't mind art criticism,
Hmm.
but it's got to be done. It's almost never done respectfully. Is kind of how I
Yeah.
look at that, right? I can like I when I review comics, like there are comics I don't always think are the best,
Hmm.
right? But I'll look for but again, because I've done a lot of creative work, um I recognize the fact that, you know, this took work to get out. And
Yeah.
I'm never going to miss that mark. Now, I might be critical of some parts, like, you know, okay, maybe
Yeah.
this story bit could be tenser, like you do stuff like that, and that's my inner editor coming out a little bit as
Hmm.
well. But it's not. I'm never knocking anybody for putting their work out there.
Yeah. Same for me. I mean, you look at it through such a different lens when you've actually gone through the struggle to get it there. And I remember when we were in New York in the summertime, we saw a guy, he's down in the subway, he's trying to sell his indie comic, and I had to go by him. I'm like, you know what? Just for the respect for the hustle, he's sitting in a overhot, shitty ass subway trying to sell his indie comics, and I gotta throw him a bone. And even if it wasn't my favorite thing I've ever read, I respect that hustle. That, like he loves his product. He's determined. He's going to go sit in a hot, humid subway in the middle of the New York summer
Yeah.
because he loves his work that much.
Well, absolutely. I just remember the fact that okay, once upon a time, Jeff Smith, did the same thing with Bone, and look where
Yeah,
he ended up, right? So, I
worked
mean,
from his own house, and his wife was working as his manager, and they did it all with that, that DIY philosophy that at that point in time, there weren't a lot of indie books that blew up. You have maybe the Ninja Turtles and Bone are the two I can think of, maybe Cerebus as well from that time, that did
Oh
it
yeah.
all on their own. They had no help from any publishers.
Well, so I'm a big sucker for A Distant Soil from like I said, Colleen Duran. Like that was where I discovered her, like that same era of
Hmm.
creative. Um, like I said, I love her work. I think there's something very she's authentic in a way a lot of the others like there's almost a tongue-in-cheek bit of fun in her work, and
Yeah.
I enjoy it. It's wildly imaginative. She can do just about anything, like legitimately anything,
Hmm.
and it was just like, but there's a certain like almost down to earthness to it. I've always really enjoyed, even with the pretty women. It's like doesn't matter. She
Yeah.
does it all right, and she does it with a smile on her face almost. Maybe
Hmm.
I mean, if Colleen was, I don't know about smile on the face, but there's definitely there's an odd bit of playfulness in her work that I really enjoy. So
Yeah.
that's why the Good Omens thing makes me so sad. Like it makes me so sad. But
Oh, so I got to get it, and then I'll send it over to you. We'll just have a copy we share around.
yeah, that's right. That's
Like when
right.
you get on your road trip, like here, take it and pass it to the next person.
Yeah, actually, that's not a bad idea. I might actually.
I've done that with a lot of comics. I'm like, I need you to take this, I need you to read it, and when you're done, I need you to promise to give it to someone else and keep moving it down the line.
That's actually that'd be kind of a fun thing, a bonus thing to do on my road trip is because I have access. I have a lot of access, so
Mhm.
I'm going to be doing my thing, and I could definitely like be the guy transplanting comics across America. That'd be kind of fun. It's
Yeah,
like,
just drop them in a comic shop and say, Here's your book," or drop
yeah,
it to another comic reader and move it down the line on your road trip.
Joshua Pantelleresco, comic book courier. I could do that.
I like it.
Totally could. Yeah. See, like little business card. What I like me as a super Vilmar. So what was okay? So I'm promise we talked with San Diego a little bit more. So what was your experience like there? Like obviously you were there as a professional, and you were like, but what did you do there?
I spend a lot of time when I'm there networking with different places that might be able to move my book in different directions.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I spent time on was a company short box that sells CGC books and only CGC books. And
Mm-hmm.
I talked to them about, all right, I'm a relative unknown on your website. I'm going to be a full unknown. What can we do for me to sell books on your platform, earning you your commission, but making sure that I can actually sell books? So I spent a lot of time at their table talking about strategies that we can do, and we have a plan in place. So a lot of it was like that, finding a company that we could benefit each other, where they would do something that could help me, and theirs was, okay, we're going to do a showcase. So if someone logs in to our app, to our website, you're going to be right there on the top bar. Like, brand new creator, check this out. Even though I've been creating since 2019 on a platform like that, I'm brand new. So talking
Yeah.
with people that we're trying to find ways to bring my book into different places, because the Kickstarter market is pretty much, I have who I have for that. I might get a few more each time, but it's more giving the audience who's been buying the book what they want. But how do I expand beyond that? Because I feel like with the Kickstarter, I've kind of hit a point where the people who are going to back, but bringing in the new faces is more difficult. When I talked with you, we talked about some strategies that I can use when I'm selling the book out in the wild again, not selling to that Kickstarter market. And one of them is that prospector market. Even having all of my books graded puts me in a different place than a lot of the people you see in small press. A
Yeah.
lot of them don't take the time to get their books graded, go to CGC, go to CBCS, and get yourself that professional account there. So now you can certify your own signature. You can run a comic signing at a comic shop and send in stuff for grading, because people like that. So that was one of the things I did. I talked to a few cover artists that work for different big companies, talked to them about potentially doing covers for my book, seeing what the costs would be and things like that. So I do a lot of just kind of I went to some panels just for the fun of it, but a lot of what I did was hitting things, trying to see what could build growth in the book. Some of them I found, okay, they're not telling me anything I don't already know. And
Yeah,
some of
no.
them, like, even if you get a tiny nugget of wisdom, that's something I didn't have before I walked in.
Yeah, and this goes back to like, so I'm going to talk about art. That was the first thing that came actually when we were talking. Actually, you're like, I didn't get anything out of that, and I'm like, Ed, and it wasn't for you. Like
Yeah,
that talk wasn't for you. That talk was for, um, you should have been the guy giving that talk.
yeah. I guess so. I guess I could, and looking at that panel, I could definitely have given the same insight that they were giving. That panel was what the 2019 me should have went to,
Yeah.
because at that point I had just printed the book. I printed it and brought some to there and actually got to get them graded, but I hadn't launched my Kickstarter yet. I didn't know. I launched my Kickstarter the day I announced it. I didn't try to get followers or anything. I just said, all
Oh,
right, Kickstarter is what people do. Here, go. I didn't know any other creators on Facebook. I knew absolutely nothing. So had I gone to a panel like that in 2019, I would have walked out with a full notebook full of things that I needed to know and things that I needed to do. And instead, I went in blind and dumb and somehow miraculously got funded by sheer dumb luck and family pity, I think.
well, yeah. Okay. You and your imposter have a little chat. It happened. Like, okay, you made all the mistakes, but it worked. That's all that really
Yeah.
matters at the end of the day is that it works.
Mm-hmm.
How, right? I don't judge, and I think we're at a point in our lives where we can't really judge people for how they do it. The important thing is that they did it, right?
Yeah.
And you did it, and that's all that matters. I think yeah, like you're at that point now where you're looking at, okay, how do I scale? And that's and
Yeah.
that and that and that's the thing, right? Kickstarter will grow, continue to grow for you, but it's going to grow at the curve it's going to grow because it has a niche,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have a prospect. I mean, at that point, I mean, you should be going to people like Brian Polito, Russell
Yeah.
Nolte, going, "Hey, listen, this is where I'm at. How do I take over the world?" And
Speaking of that, I went to Brian Polito at the con and talked with him for a little while. Shared a story that there was an indie comic creator award thing, and I got second place to him and lost by like 5 votes. So I started it with just kind of a little story, and then told him like, all right, what do I do? How do I build? And he walked in with a known commodity with Lady Death, but it's like, okay, what are some growth things? And he actually had a panel, and I went to that one and gained a little more insight. But yeah, I went over to his table and talked with him for a little bit. I've talked with Russell a lot. He's been my neighbor at a
yeah,
con or two, so he's someone I've talked to. I bought his book, did some of his seminars, because I look at him and he's shown that growth where every campaign it gets a little bit better than the one before it.
yeah.
Even though he's getting big numbers, he always gets slightly bigger. So those two creators you named, it's funny. One of them was one I sought out when we were in San Diego, and then the other one I've talked to and
Oh
have
yeah,
have kind of tried to pick his brain when we have those slow moments in our row.
yeah, yeah. Well, it wasn't slow this year. That was the one thing about San
No, there
Diego
was no
this year.
slow moments this year. This was one of those years I really wish I had got a table, because everyone I talked to sold out everything they brought. So it's one of those ones where it's like, oof, that was a missed opportunity, because I don't think you can ever bring it back what it was, because once they bring the Hollywood presence back, all those people that had to go to the floor for lack of any other alternative, they're going to be back in Hall H and they're not going to spend a minute on that floor. So the traffic will never be
Uh,
like that.
I don't know about that. See, here's the interesting thing. Like as far as the Hollywood strike goes, will Hollywood be back next year? Like if you're at
True.
the San Diego Comic Con, okay, all things considered, right? Your vendors are happy. The house
Mm-hmm.
is packed,
Yeah.
right? Like, folks, we cannot even put into words how busy that whole con was, right?
Yeah. It was crazy. I've never seen foot traffic like that.
Yeah, like I cannot do just like you couldn't stop. It takes about it took me to go from one end of that hall to the other about 40 minutes. That
Yeah.
was partially walking speed,
Mhm.
because there were moments you couldn't go fast. But part
Yeah.
of that was just it's a big ass hall. Like
It's huge.
I showed I came back and I showed one of the guys. I work at the hockey arena here, like the NHL hockey arena. Showed
Mhm.
one of the guys, like I showed him a picture, one of the few pictures I took during the con, and he goes, "Look at that aisle. Like you like just really look at that picture and how big that show was. Crazy, like just
Yeah.
absolutely crazy." And it was like I didn't have a table. I don't have like I have product. I got to make physical products, some more physical
Yeah.
products, some of my books. But no, man, like you would like. I looked at that. It was just like even if Hall H, I think Hall H will be back next year, but I
Yeah.
don't know if it's going to be the same. Because
Yeah.
if I was the con, San Diego Comic Con is such a phenomenon at this point that I don't. You to gut that con, you'd have to literally take out everything. I mean everything
Mhm.
to shut it down because the video game con like panels were huge. The presence of
Yeah.
video game companies was huge. Bits, the manga, like the anime sections in there were giant. Like I couldn't believe it. The publishers that were there had like these giant booths for the most part, except for ironically enough, DC had a tiny. DC and Marvel did not have like as big of a. I thought they'd be bigger, right?
Yeah.
I
Their
thought,
presence wasn't huge this year. They've had bigger in the past.
yeah, it was weird because I think if I was San Diego Comic Con, I still would have a Hall H, but I
Yeah.
think I would like knock it down a little bit, like
Mhm.
make one day really busy for it, but the other rest of them maybe just one premiere a day kind of thing. Make it
Yeah.
special
Mhm.
because I think that's what it should be. I think from what everyone told me in the past, what would happen is if there was a big premiere happening, everybody would go to those premieres. They come back. They play. It would be waves of people, waves
Yeah.
instead of just a steady onslaught. What it was that year. I was actually told you shouldn't go this year. I'm like, yeah, I'm going.
Yeah.
I got an invite. I got a pro badge. Um, I'm going to this because I kind of know what to expect. And
Mhm.
yeah, like next year, it's going to be. I'm definitely going back. Like planning on going back. I really said I got my first pro badge. Pretty sure I can get my second one.
Oh yeah.
Right, yeah, and I'll be going. I'll be watching. Maybe my goal will be at some point to get a table there next year. Well, maybe not
Yeah.
next year, but the year after.
Mhm.
From what I'm told, San Diego it takes about 2-3 years to get your
Yeah.
table.
You got to get on their wait list and maybe do a couple. I mean, if you do enough of their cons, I could have probably squeezed in because I'd done WonderCon. I did the special edition, and they kind of loved the people that did special edition because that one was a completely different thing. Like our row, there were 4 empty tables. They couldn't sell the place out, but the reception was just phenomenal. I mean, I did sell books out. I had to have my wife drive more books down. It was such a strong reception, but the foot traffic was probably a third of what we saw at this, and yet the
Started
people's
still being
willingness to
insane.
try something new was I've never seen anything like it.
Well, no, even a third. Holy shit! Like
Oh yeah, it was still crowded, just not on the level of like there were certain points, like you said, you couldn't keep walking. You just ran into a wall of humanity.
yeah, and you're oddly still moving. That's the weird thing, folks. You still have to move.
Yeah, they're just the wave keeps moving.
Yeah, you just got to go with it. And it's such a strange thing. The only thing I don't like about San Diego Comic Con is you can't escape the food. You cannot escape the food prices there.
No, they are what they are. You're not getting anything better with that.
Well, the thing is, I had Canadian money. That was the thing.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So we're all laughing, but for different reasons. They're
Yeah.
laughing slightly out of pity. I'm laughing
Hmm.
slightly out of despair. Perspective, right? Yeah, the perspective. But yeah, because like $17, just give me like $17 for a hot dog cloak. That's what you're paying to be able to take, right?
Yeah.
In Canadian, that's $25,
Mm,
right?
yikes.
Yeah, I cried a little bit. Not gonna lie, I cried a little bit. But there's nowhere to go. Like there's like that's the thing. Like that's the only downside to convention, folks. Is yeah, your food. You like you gotta if you're going to go elsewhere to eat if you can
Yeah.
before the show if you can go elsewhere a decent distance away. I'm not talking downtown San Diego.
No, then
I'm
it's
talking
just as bad.
yeah, just on the outskirts. On the outskirts.
Hmm.
I understand the prices come down when the con's done. It's like those you
Oh, they
bastards.
do. I go there. I'll go there for baseball games and things like that down to San Diego, and the prices look different when it's not actual Comic-Con time, when they know they got to feed all these people. Or at a baseball game, they want you to get in there because there's plenty of restaurants to choose from, and they need to make sure that you go their direction. So prices take a nice downward fall. But I generally will hit the grocery store and grab some of those grocery store sandwiches and snacks like
Yeah,
that
yeah, and
because the quality is about the same as what you're going to get inside the con, but
yeah,
the price is so much less.
yeah. No, that was the big learning experience for me on the con is the tricks to survive, right? The trick
Mhm.
like I was coming from Pacific Beach in the morning, so I get my meal in the morning, but you get hungry walking that con is just.
Oh yeah,
And by the way, folks, we're just talking about the convention floor. We haven't talked about panels or anything like
yeah,
that. Like to put the scope of this con in perspective is wow. You know,
yeah. It's still the one time I did actually have a table is still and will probably remain for a long time the best sales I've ever had because it's just I mean, people say it's all about Hollywood now, but there are a lot of people that will still go to that con specifically to find new things to read because
oh
they're
yeah,
passionate about comic books and they're tired of mainstream and they want to see what exists in small press. They go in small press and they have a certain amount of money to spend and they're potentially yours if you can give them the right pitch.
yes. Well, exactly. And I mean, and thing is, like, folks, there's like 150, 160,000 people in there a day, like at any one time. You're gonna find somebody that will buy your book, unless you
Yeah.
suck, right? Unless you suck. But all of which to say that it was a great con. I was really happy. Like one of the reasons. So one of the reasons I was happy is I got to meet a whole bunch of you I've interviewed from a distance in person.
Yeah.
Right? We actually got to hang for a little bit, which was kind of cool. Um, so let's ask, like, what was obviously you went your goal was to network and be a professional, kind of take a step back and reevaluate some things,
Yeah.
right? But besides that, like, what was the most fun thing you did at the con?
I don't know. I mean, for me, I just love walking that floor. And and I know so many of the creators now because I've worked multiple cons with them and it feels like it's catching up with a lot of old friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I spend a huge chunk of my time not looking at, the Mattel booth and all of the places where people are looking to pay their next mortgage. I look at it like I'm going to go to small press and I'm going to hang out with a bunch of good people and good friends. So one of the best times I have is just, all right, I'm going to spend the next 3 hours just hanging out in small press and catching up with so many people that I might only see once or twice a year. So that's always my highlight.
Yeah. So my highlight was Committed Comics. It's like Alex. So he has this sign. He always shows it's okay to make eye contact. He's doing like this half dance, right? So the first time I
Yeah.
meet him, I know who he was at first. So the first time I met him, it's like, dude, you gotta go all in on the dance. You just gotta go all in, right?
Yeah.
Because you're already halfway there. You gotta commit. So for the next 3 days afterwards, I would try to sneak up on him and perform a dance move, right?
That's right. You were telling me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The can was one. He saw me the second day, but every time I just made him laugh, right? Because it was just we're having fun. Like we're just two grown
Yeah.
men having fun at a con.
Mm-hmm.
And the third day, I snuck up and did like the little Russian dance. He sees me come out of nowhere and just breaks. He's like, That's impressive that you can do that. He goes, I can't. You can do that still. It's like, yeah, yeah, hell yeah. I still got the moves.
Yes.
But no, it was so cool. I got to meet so many people. I'm trying to get contacting them now because I'm wrapping in a month from now. The Twitch era is done, like fully
Yeah.
done. I'm 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 gonna still like I've kind of made the decision of I'm going to keep this somewhat like I'll still do an odd podcast here and there on this
Hmm.
channel, but it's not going to be the same thing. I'm not going to be it'll be like the odd drink and draw, some people left over, like the odd like what I would call special interview kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? That nothing regular, and then the rest of the time, I might turn this into a giant game channel,
And that could be
right?
fun.
Yeah,
I think you could do something really fun with your road trip. Just
oh, absolutely. But I've already started that. That's on my Patreon.
okay,
So
nice.
yeah, it's on my Patreon right now. So like the long and short of it is like $5 a month, and you get all the shows of me starting here in Calgary. But yeah, like my San Diego content starts next week. Like it
Okay.
literally starts next week, and they're like Brian Polito's going to firstcomicsnews.com. I did an interview with him, but
Okay.
everything else that's there, I go through a little bit of an edit, and I start doing that. And start next week, it like there'll
Hmm.
be there's a tier. It's going to be the San Diego tier. It's like
Yeah.
all the stuff I got at San Diego Comic Con. Here you go. Like every show I do, I have like I just did also like it's a writers conference here. I only
Hmm.
did one interview there, but I did an interview with a guy by the name of Mark Leslie, who's a
Okay.
writer. But yeah, just doing these kind of conversations on the road.
Hmm.
That's the direction I want to go with the show going forward
Yeah.
because it's way more fun.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's way more fun to do those kind of like. I do not mind Twitch, but at the same time, I've been doing. This is episode 545 on Twitch, right?
Wow.
Yeah, right. I've done a lot of Twitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be on the screen as much, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, like, I rather be in person.
Hmm.
I'm not going to be on the road proper till spring, I think. But when I am at, like, I'm going on the road, and or it may not even be spring, who knows? But basically, when I'm ready to go, I'm going to go, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna make something happen.
Oh, that sounds like fun. I'm looking forward to seeing it, and when you make your California stop, getting you some proper ice cream out this way.
Oh no, we already got a plan. So, folks, so I like on a personal note, I love San Diego. I hate LA. Like, right? But I also realize that a lot of people make their living out like there. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna be going all through California. California is either my second or third stop.
Okay.
It's my second or third. I might be going through Washington first. There's a couple people there but I might skip. California is one of the prettiest states I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like it's big, but I think people forget just how like every environment's in California pretty much.
Yeah. You can see it all. You can see some beach, some mountain, some desert,
It's all here.
nice forests.
Yeah, it's all there. So
Yep.
I mean, California will be definitely a very cool part of the trip. And then after that, I go to Arizona, and then after
Hmm.
that, I go to Colorado, and then after that, we'll see. Like
Yeah.
it'll all depend on. But basically, I'm going to be doing like I'm going to be doing a van life thing for at least a year, and we'll see if it goes longer. We'll see if it goes
Yeah.
shorter. But basically, yeah, no, when I get out, when I'm on the road, dude, I'm definitely gonna stop by. We'll do proper ice cream. We'll hang out and we'll do more stuff again, and
Yeah.
that'll be the whole point, man. It's fun. So, but that all said, good sir. So, how long is this campaign going on till?
This one we have about, I think it's 19 more days.
Okay.
I think it'll be 19 days at probably right about now because I launched it right around this time. So yeah, it's got about 19 days left. It's last I looked, it's about 270 away from funding. So
It's really
that's
close.
Yeah, so it's almost there, and then it's just hopefully unlocking the stretch goals and things like that. Because I'm one of those people that if once we fund, I love to give back to the people. And
Sure.
when you open your bundle, you're not just going to get a book, you're going to get stickers and magnets and things like that. Because if we've overfunded, then let the let the buyer get the rewards for that. And there's certain
Oh,
campaigns that I've backed, and oh my gosh, your bag of stretch goal stuff is just
oh yeah.
so huge. And I love getting something like that. I mean, I can't hit that level, but these guys are the ones pulling 20, 30,000. But the worst is when you see a $30,000 campaign and there's a book with no bag and board tossed in a cheap mailer, and you're like, okay, you made 20 grand. You can at least afford to get some of those, at least some good mailers.
Oh, sure. Well. I mean, there's good customer service too, right?
Yeah.
Right. There is such a thing as good customer service, and like that's the other thing about Kickstarter, why it's maybe a little different than say an indie book. I'm not saying that indie people mistreat the books either, but I mean, you are getting people to pledge whatever you're going to get them to pledge to support your work, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, you're almost there. I'm just looking at your project right now. I'm going
Okay.
to do you a solid here. So the only problem with Zoom, this is the only problem with Zoom, is you don't have the ability to I'm
Can't
trying
share
to,
screen stuff.
yeah, you don't get to share it the same way. I'm hoping. Hold on a second here. Hold on a second. I'm gonna hit a button here, kind of see where we're at, right? And like, yeah, it's just like it goes off on a tangent here. Hold on a second here.
Yeah.
It goes off and does its thing, and what it's doing is, you know, it's trying to allow for certain. Hold on a second here. Yep, we're on. I'm trying to get us and trying to get us to do whatever it is we're doing here, but it's like, yeah, trying to get it to stick, shall we say? But yeah, I can't do that. So trying to put a comment in here, and I don't know if I can actually do that.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
not sure. Zoom, when I had to teach online, we used Teams. So I learned how to function through that and share things, but
oh,
even
there you
that
go.
was not a good interface.
No, it's not. I just put it up. I just put it up on the chat there for folks to. It's been pinned, and it's been pinned there so that people can see it, and when they do come in to see it, they can see it, and that was the whole goal. But yeah, Zoom and Kickstarter do not get along. Like, not Kickstarter,
No.
Zoom and Twitch do not get Twitch do not get along well at all. But going with it, like, yeah, you come a long way. It's the little things that go a long way. Like, one of the things I realized as a streamer, I'm watching some of the more successful streams out there. This is going to sound very simplistic, but customer service goes an incredible long way.
Oh yeah.
People remember when you deliver a good book or not.
Hmm. And I've heard good comments because I know that there's a big debate among the creators. Like, do the backers even care about the stretch goals? When you throw the stickers and magnets and things, do they actually care? And I've
Yeah.
I've heard enough positive comments saying, "Oh yeah, I have your magnets on my fridge, and I have all of them because I've backed you since the beginning." And little comments like that say, okay, they do appreciate them. Maybe they're not gonna send you an email to say, "Hey, those magnets are so great," but when they say, "Oh yeah, I keep them on my dishwasher, I keep them on my refrigerator," it shows that they do care about it. And for me, one thing I do that's getting harder and harder as I get more backers is I like to write a personal thank you card to every single backer.
Mm-hmm.
If they back physical, I actually buy thank you cards. I put them in there, and I don't know most of the people personally, so I don't know too much to say, but more just a thank you.
Oh yeah.
You're appreciated. Without you, this doesn't exist. And people have said, "Oh yeah, I always look forward to my thank you card." And oh,
Oh yeah.
you probably don't send those to everyone, but I do. Every single person gets them, and I like to make every backer feel like they're the most important person in the world, because to me, they are. Without them, I don't exist. Without them, I'm just a guy doodling in a notebook still.
But that's the whole thing, right? It is I'm looking through now. Now I'm on the right place. I can actually look and see who's streaming and who's not with the show. So if there's comments, I'll definitely answer them. But the thing is, no, this is an experience. Like you are sharing your project to the world in a way that's unique. So you should be, how do I put this? You should be treating them as like a big thank you. And that the thank you card,
Yeah.
I bet you the thank you cards are kept. Right? I will, more often than not they're kept from the, I'll give you an example. I back the Naira X like
Hmm.
stuff from Bill most of the time. And Bill Moss. I didn't do it last time because again I had this little thing called going to San Diego, so I didn't do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, by and large, I back his stuff. I back Rob Motori, someone else I usually tend to try to back, and I've experimented with a few other like Kirk Zauer, and I do this. But the thing is, right? What I remember about all of them, right, is the service I get
Hmm.
and the impression. Like I'm going to back a Russell Nolte project again because
Yeah.
he was so good that like his honestly, it's been timing. If it, like, but I'm always interested in what he's doing just because I remember what he gave me the first time. It was so good that it was like, yeah, I remember that. There are creators, unfortunately, that have never give fulfilled their Kickstarters. I've been
Oh
part of
yeah.
that. I've been part of that as well. Late's forgivable, but like
Never
never.
showing up. Yeah. I've probably had about 5 or 6 that just never show up. And then eventually the updates just disappear and they're gone. They don't exist
So
anymore.
I'm going to tell you a really funny story. So for my Alice book, I was looking for an artist for like an Alice in Wonderland kind of thing.
Hmm.
So one of the guys I backed a Kickstarter for, I knew they were going through a hard time. That was as
Yeah.
far as they told me, and that was it. But I put about 50 American at the time
Yeah.
into their project, and I never got a thing for it.
Yeah.
Years later, I'm looking for an artist for this book. They come to offer me their services to me. I
Yeah.
did not know what to do about that. It was
Mm.
like, wow.
I,
Now
I
it's quite
see I see your commitment and I don't need a piece of that.
no, that's pretty much it. Like people forget. Like they're gonna look at your like I'm gonna look at what you've done for me
Yeah.
personally, and going above and beyond on a Kickstarter is really good. Like even like okay, I sold some of my comics on eBay, not a ton of them, but I
Hmm.
sold a few of them.
Yeah.
I made sure I went a little above and beyond with the care of the books. Now again,
Hmm.
shipping being shipping, it was like, I'm not gonna do that like what I did there. But
Yeah.
I made sure that both of them got the stuff. Both of them
Hmm.
did. One of them gave me a really nice review.
Yeah.
I went above and beyond because you need to, especially with that kind of you're in the customer service. Like the big part of this is customer service, whether people
Yeah.
realize it or not. They're gonna remember what you gave them, and
Yeah.
they're going to remember like how you treat them.
Hmm.
So if you just give a book, now I don't always need. This is where the only thing I will say, I don't always need a sticker. I don't always need a button. I don't always need.
Yeah.
They're cool, but that's not what I really want. What I care about. What I care about is, um, did you show appreciation in the product? Because if you showed me
Yeah.
that, I'll come back, right?
Hmm.
So I came back for Bill. Bill sent me they sent me the baseball card collection for Naira with all the artists in the back, which was really cool.
Oh, cool.
Like something cool like that, right?
Hmm.
It fit the book, right? The thank you card, like that would be like honestly that would be plenty like for me. That would be like, oh wow, they went above and beyond.
Yeah.
It's not you don't again and folks, the whole point is it's not big things that matter. It's the little things. It's the stuff that it's the stuff that people remember, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what they're going to remember. They're going to more than the book. They're going to remember how you made them feel. And that always needs to be in the back of your head.
Yeah. I agree. And that's why when I started, I thought, all right, if I get 10 backers or if I get 100, I'm going to write a card to every single one of them. And there was one time I think I had to write about 150 thank you cards. And I thought this is the best problem to ever have. Like, I got to write so many thank you cards, my hands hurt, but guess what? This is beautiful because I could have had to only write a few and my hand would have felt fine. So the fact that, oh, wow, my hand is hurting after this and my writing is not the neatest. So I apologize to anyone who gets one of my thank you cards. Like, what the hell is this guy saying? Now you see why I learned how to type, because it's bad.
So good. My handwriting is actually considered good now. That's terrible because my handwriting is absolutely the drizzling shits. But I mean,
Yeah.
now it's good. Who knew? Who knew? But no, like, dude, that's what people are going to remember. They're going to remember two things: the quality of the work you gave them,
Yeah.
and the experience you provided them. That's
Mhm.
it. Like that is like the business. Like for lack of a better term, it's the business of art, right?
Yeah.
Did you make them feel what they expected you to make them feel? Or did you go
Yeah.
even above and beyond? If you did that, dude, you won.
And I think that's the experience that gets people going to Kickstarter as opposed to a lot of the other places they can get a book, is because so many creators put that personal touch in there. And if you go to buy a comic from a comic shop, you're not going to get you're not going to get a thank you from the creators because they're just mass shipping them. You're not going to get a sticker or anything. So the fact that you can get these amazing perks and still get a book that you love makes it so people come back for more and more. That's why you look, when you see people that back your campaign and they've backed thousands, it's like they love that Kickstarter. And I would guess most of them aren't walking into their local comic shop and spending that same kind of money.
Oh no. Like I mean, Kickstarter has definitely hit comic shops in a weird way. Like for me, I don't have I have a bigger pull list than I expected to right now,
Mm-hmm.
but it's shrinking because like those miniseries are running out. Like
Yeah.
so, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is my Batman book. Like
Yeah.
it's my problem. It's like there when it explodes, it explodes.
Yeah.
But you move past that, like you legitimately move past that for a minute. Like I don't collect anywhere close to the same amount of books I did in the past, and I'm
Yeah.
not going to because I like doing Kickstarters. And I
Yeah.
don't do a ton of them a year, but I'm doing enough that people
Yeah.
notice. I mean, my name's been in a few of them. Uh, I'm now a creator in a bunch of them too, which is something I never thought I'd again. And that's the other thing too. Kickstarter is a great way to break into the comic industry,
Yeah.
right? Because
That's where I started. I mean, it was starting on that Kickstarter. Even if I walked in and knew nothing, it was my way in the door.
yeah, and now you have 10 books to your name. So now you can go to a publisher and go, hey, I've done these cool things. What do you
Yeah.
get? Right? I think I could do this cool thing for you.
Mm-hmm.
And also now you have an audience, you have numbers to back you up,
Yeah.
which you do. Like you have that's the other thing about Kickstarter. You have a very, very interesting position in that um people know like you currently have you're almost at 100 backers, 19 days to
Okay.
go, right? I'm looking at this in Canadian money,
Okay.
which makes it look even bigger than what it
Yeah.
is. But but you have 96 backers, and they've nearly put in 4 grand. Now you're
Okay.
gonna probably now based on what you've told me, you're probably gonna be closer to 8 grand Canadian, 9 grand Canadian when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
Which that's really good. That's
Yeah.
that's a number you can look at with a comic book company now and go, well, what can you give me for this property? Because I already got this,
Yeah.
right?
I have a built-in audience. It may not be huge, but it exists.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's the whole thing, right? And that's the thing. Like there's a real number now I can put down.
Yeah.
So, right, which is just um ooh, like I wish I had money yet. I oh, that's not oh dang it. If I had a little bit more money, I'd do that whole
I I
vote.
I understand, and I'll get my book in your hand one day. This is the easy way where you don't have to pay for shipping to Canada.
Yeah, well, yeah, and also I'll actually have real American money because I'll have more American
True.
clients. So we're not laughing at the same like level of no, but it's a good campaign, and you've got a backing, and you've got a history, and yes, folks, I was looking at his campaign and going, yes, there's some really good books there, and he fit it. And the other thing too is, like, yeah, we should just talk about your book a little bit. It's got a bit of like when we were talking, like for just stuff. It's like it's got a bit of a YA feel to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And that's something, because you can really gauge your audience when you see who comes to the table and who gets excited about what they're reading. And I've seen that kind of 18 to 34 women, they'll come up and they are passionate about certain characters. They're telling me, okay, I want to cosplay as this character or that character. And it has that. And it's funny because when I had released the book, if you would ask me who would it appeal to, automatically I just think, all right, the standard, comic nerd stereotype that you have, that, the guy who reads, the giant stack of books and has the massive pull list, he's going to be the one that wants it. But when the people approach your table, not just the ones that buy the book, but the ones that come back because they want to talk more about it because they're so excited about what they read, that seems to be, like you said, that YA audience, which I would have never looked at that as, okay, that's going to be my demographic. But you really don't know until you actually go out there into the real world and sell the book to people in front of you. And then they're going to give you that feedback. They're going to come back. A lot of them will buy an issue 1 and they're like, oh my gosh, I read it. I need more. I want to read the rest of this now. And you look who are the ones that come back over and over again. And yeah, it's that, like you said, it's that YA audience.
So Edward Davis, young adult comic book creator.
What's
Not
that?
bad. Edward Davis, young adult comic book creator.
Yeah. Even though it's got, I mean, like you were saying, because we talked about this a little bit before, I said, oh, well, it's got too much blood, it's got too much profanity, but you're like, well, look at all these other books. I mean, the Hunger Games, there's plenty of violence in that, all these titles have it. They're not comic books. They're selling it in a different way. And they could easily have turned the Hunger Games into an R-rated franchise, but made it PG-13 instead. So it's an interesting thought that you put in my head when we were talking about it, because like I said, I have the preconceived notion of who is my market going to be. And generally the market that I would have envisioned to start with are a lot of the people that are not purchasing the book at the table, or if they are, they're not coming back to sing its praises the next day.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just it. There's nothing, and by the way, and when you find your groove and your niche, the challenge then is just to embrace it. You found it.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, Immortal Era is your Hunger Games or your
Yeah.
Harry Potter or your Cinder or whatever book that's big in YA that you admire. And you know what? That's not a terrible thing.
No. An audience, you can never complain. If you have an audience, then you have to embrace them.
Exactly. Exactly.
And certain places you're going to go, you're the audience that you think that is becoming a stronger audience, they may not show up. Like I'm doing a horror convention in October, I'm not going to see a lot of those faces. You get a lot of those more stereotypical faces that you would imagine reading the comic book. And you got to be ready to sell to whoever's in the room, because you can only sell to the people that are actually attending.
But you might be
I guess that's true. It's like you think one thing and then you look around and you see a completely different thing.
Well, okay, take a look at Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland, how often is she written like a mad woman, like in horror?
Yeah.
Fits. Children's fairy tale. Fits.
Yeah.
Not they use the same instruments, they just do it a little differently. That's all. And
True.
that's
Yeah.
right. So I mean, you might find you might find that the audience there might be more into Wednesday Addams than the Hunger Games, but
True.
but Wednesday Addams is still kind of YA at heart.
Yeah. In the end.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. When I do the next few cons that I have coming up, I'm really gonna look at that and see, and I'm gonna take actual notes, like, okay, these are the people I'm trying to, and cater the pitch to the person that's coming to the table, because that's something I always try to do. You see a couple, I sell the family aspects of my book, and you can always see the way, unless you see a little kid coming up and you're like, okay, that's, 7 or 8 year old, I'll get you a little bit later because this book's not for you.
And that's fair. And that's totally fair, right? And I say it like this because I want you to like how do I put this? I think the one thing I'll just say here is, I mean, have no preconceived notions of who's going to be at your shows either, right? See
Yeah,
what audience just shows up
yeah,
and work with it. And if you find it's the same people that like your book, well, you have your people. You must embrace
yeah.
them.
And that's, yeah, I mean, and that's what I see is, a lot of, one thing I see is a lot of repeat customers. They come, they do multiple shows in SoCal, and if there's something new on my table, they're going to buy that something new.
Yeah,
So that's one of those amazing feelings where they're like, they just come up and go, okay, I need whatever you have that I don't already own. So
exactly.
when you get
So
those people that just, they want your product, whatever it may be, and they're going to keep buying it. If you keep putting things out, they'll keep buying.
So then, Edward Davis, I guess as we come to the end of this interview, I got to ask this question. Like,
Yes,
do you still struggle with feeling like a professional? Because you got a fan base, you have 8 books under your name,
yes.
you've figured out who your audience is, right? And people are hungering for your books. I don't know about you, but I think that makes you a professional.
I think so. And see, I like when you use logic to deflect my emotion, because logic always beats emotion. And in emotion, you're all, like I said, you're always the imposter in the room, at least in my brain. There's plenty of people that don't follow that same
Oh,
philosophy, but they're like, let me strike that down that whole thought in your head with some logical arguments that are all true. And you're like, you know what? When you put it that way, I have no argument against that. And you're right.
yeah,
I'm a
Edward
professional.
Davis, motherfucking professional.
You got it.
But I mean, you got it. Like, yeah, dude, never take for granted how far you've come. Like I said, and we'll see how far you go. And either
Yeah.
way, right? Either way, whether it's this series, the next series, or whatever it is, like you're gonna keep growing and you're gonna keep
Mm-hmm.
growing. So I think we probably should just do the official. So you're at issue 8.
Yes.
So you're at issue 8. So what's the pitch?
What is the pitch? All right. So my series, the pitch of the story is it's a post-apocalyptic world, 200 years in the future, where everyone has mysteriously become immortal. But with immortality, they don't gain powers or abilities. They continue to age. They can still get sick. They can still feel pain. There's characters in my story who have lost limbs. One of my characters lost his entire body, and he's just a decapitated head. So it centers on 5 individuals who are forced to live underground. They're out looking for relics that would explain why people became immortal, because for them, the ultimate goal is to restore the natural life cycle and to save humanity by killing them.
Okay. And there you go, folks. And that is the story. The Kickstarter is currently on. The link is on the comment section. At least I wish I could highlight it. Unfortunately, I'm on Zoom, and Zoom and Twitch just they want to fight more. I mean, they get along better now than they used to, but at least
Mm.
But it is what it is. So 19 more days. I'll make sure that before the episode runs, like your time runs out, that this will air on the audio. I can talk to the boss. I know him; he's a bit of a prick sometimes, but I can usually get him to cooperate about stuff like that. How can people find you besides the Kickstarter? How would you like them to reach you?
So on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, if you search Finish Line Comics, you'll find me there. I do have a website. It's finishlinecomics.com. And if you're impatient and you just want the trade right now, you can go there, head to my web store and get it shipped right away. So that's where you can find me. I have a TikTok. I never use it. So the Instagram is my biggest posting platform, and that's where you can get sneak peeks of new art. I've already put the first couple pictures of the new series. So that's your place to go and find out everything going on in the universe with Finish Line Comics.
Alrighty. So, as I told Edward, I'm going to tell you all the podcast is becoming a travel show, and I've already started. I have currently 7 episodes of the new show. You can actually pay for, $5 a month, you can actually watch them as they are. They're still like concepts that they are starting to air on YouTube this week. The patreon.com/justjoshingpodcast if you want to support what I'm doing. Outside of that, folks, you can find me wherever you can find me. I got two more amazing podcasts this week. Rihanna Lotz is my guest tomorrow. She runs Mirror World Publishing. Wednesday is Winston Pye. Definitely take a look at those. And then next week I break 1,000 episodes, folks. It's going to be a big wild one. I know. You're 995, Mr. Ed. I mean, that's where we're
amazing.
at. Yeah. So for everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. And I'll see you guys next time. Hold on a second here. Let's hit the magic button.